There are also 3 alternative supply curves which will be discussed in this video. The first is where supply is restricted by a minimum price. Previously we said the supply curve was upward sloping. As you can see here, there's a flat part of the curve and then an upward sloping part of the curve. Below P1, nothing is supplied. And above P1, we can see that quantity supplied increases as price increases. A really good example of this would be minimum wage. So the minimum wage rate is $9.15. Below the minimum wage of $9.15, you can see that nothing is supplied. That is because below €9.15 per hour, very few people will be willing to supply their labour. However, what we can see is that when it increases, let's say to €10 per hour, more people are willing to supply their labour. Similarly, if it increased to €10.50 per hour, we have more people again that are willing to supply their labour. Therefore, we see as P increases, that's our price, quantity supplied will increase also. The second alternative supply curve is where supply is restricted by limited capacity. The example we can use here is a garden centre. So, at any price below P1, we will start to see an increase in the quantity supplied. So say for example we have a tree in a garden centre and the tree costs €5. This quantity supplied. The tree, if the price increases to €10, we'll see an increase in supply. And then let's say the price increases to €15 and we see that at €15, let's say P1, Q1 is supplied. However, the garden centre only has a certain amount of space. So even if the price of these trees increase to €20 per tree, the garden centre still can only supply Q1 because they are limited due to their space. We say that the garden centre has limited capacity. So therefore, as price increases, eventually a point will be reached whereby no matter how much price increases, they still can only supply Q1. The final alternative supply curve is the fixed supply curve. A good example of this would be any sort of sports stadium. For example, Croke Park. Croke Park has a limited amount of seating at 83,000 seats. Therefore, for any event or game that is played there, they can only sell 83,000 tickets. What we can see here on the fixed supply curve is that it is a vertical line. If the price increases from P1 to P2, we still can only supply a certain number of seating at Q1. This is our quantity supplied, which is fixed. So regardless of any price change, we still cannot increase our quantity supplied. Finally, we say if no interference in the market occurs, for example by the government or any other agency, then eventually a price will settle at a level whereby your quantity supplied will equal your quantity demanded. At this point, there is no tendency to move in the market. We say that the market is in equilibrium. Above this point, PE, at a higher price, we can see that quantity demanded will be less than quantity supplied. Producers will lower their price until a point is reached where quantity supplied will equal to quantity demanded. Similarly, at a lower price than the equilibrium price, we see that quantity supplied is less than quantity demanded. Producers will eventually push up their price so that quantity demanded will equal quantity supplied. The aim of every market is to be in equilibrium.